this building, this is an old factory that made gaming chips back in 1960. And the crazy thing is that now...
A shocking revelation has just sent tremors through the paranormal world. Zak Bagans, host of Ghost Adventures, has come forward with a chilling statement, one that directly involves Ghost Hunters co-founder Grant Wilson. Fans who have followed both men for years are in disbelief, as their paths rarely crossed publicly. Yet now, Zak's cryptic post and recent podcast appearance hint that something sinister was going on behind the scenes of their investigations. What dark truth has finally come to light after years of silence? And why did Zak choose to speak out now? This isn't just another rivalry story. What he revealed may change how you see both of them forever. Before the shock of Zak's revelation, fans saw the paranormal world as divided between two giants, Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. Grant Wilson and Jason Hawes built Ghost Hunters on sci-fi in the early 2000s, pioneering the modern ghost hunting format that inspired countless shows, including Zak's own Ghost Adventures. At first, there was mutual respect. Zak even credited Grant's team for opening doors for others in the field. But behind that public courtesy, tension was already brewing. Industry insiders whispered about growing egos, rival production teams, and disputes over evidence authenticity. While Ghost Hunters emphasized scientific equipment and skepticism, Ghost Adventures leaned into energy, emotion, and dramatic encounters. Viewers picked sides, but Zak's latest comments suggest the conflict ran much deeper than competition. It was personal. He hinted that certain investigators fabricated energy readings to protect their reputations. Fans quickly connected the dots, and speculation exploded online. Was Zak implying that Grant's team faked some of their most famous hauntings? In a late-night live stream, Zak's tone turned darker as he recalled a moment from years ago when he claimed, "Someone tried to bury me in this field before I ever got my shot." That cryptic remark now sounds less metaphorical. The paranormal world might never have known how deep the rivalry cut until now. According to Zak, the first real confrontation between him and Grant didn't happen in a studio or on a talk show. It happened behind closed doors at a paranormal convention in New England years ago. Both were keynote guests, separated by only a few hours on the schedule. Witnesses say the tension in the green room was thick even before they met. Zak, still early in his career, was gaining rapid fame through Ghost Adventures Live and his raw, unfiltered style. Grant, already a household name through Ghost Hunters, reportedly viewed Zak's approach as reckless and overly theatrical. But Zak claims that during that brief meeting, Grant said something that changed how he viewed the entire industry. "He told me, 'There are some things you don't show the public,'" Zak recalled in his recent statement. He said some hauntings are too real, and that if I ever found one, I'd understand why they kept it quiet. That cryptic warning stayed with Zak for years. At the time, he thought it was professional advice. But as his investigations grew darker and more dangerous, like the Demon House incident, Zak began to suspect there was more to Grant's words. He hinted that certain evidence from Ghost Hunters episodes had been withheld, not for editing reasons, but because it allegedly involved entities not meant for broadcast. A few former crew members have since backed that claim anonymously, saying that one investigation in particular, an abandoned hospital in Pennsylvania, was shut down after something unexplainable happened to one of the sound techs. Zak said that when he tried to revisit the same site years later, permits were mysteriously denied, and the location's records were sealed. What really happened that night? Grant never addressed the rumors, but Zak's latest comments suggest that their disagreement wasn't about fame, it was about fear. After Zak's recent revelation, fans began connecting clues that had lingered for years. Strange gaps in Ghost Hunters archives, missing episodes, and unaired segments whispered about on paranormal forums. Zak confirmed these suspicions when he said, "There are tapes that were never supposed to be seen." He didn't mention names, but many took it as a direct reference to Grant Wilson's private collection of recordings, supposedly stored away after internal disputes with the network. According to a former production assistant who worked briefly under the Ghost Hunters team, certain evidence was intentionally pulled after an investigation went too far. It wasn't just shadow figures or strange EVPs. Something allegedly followed the crew back to their hotel. Zak claims one of his contacts in the industry once offered him a glimpse at those tapes, calling them proof that Grant found something he couldn't explain or contain. He refused at the time, believing it was just a marketing stunt. But after seeing patterns in Grant's later behavior, his sudden departure from the show in 2012, his years of silence, and the cryptic blog post he later deleted, Zak began to suspect those files held the truth about what drove Grant away from television altogether. Fans have searched for years for the so-called banned episode from the Eastern State investigation, where Grant's mic reportedly captured a phrase in Latin, followed by a scream cut from broadcast. Zak's revelation reignited this hunt, with online sleuths digging through old DVDs and torrents, hoping to find clues. If these recordings exist, they could reveal not only what Grant encountered, but why he warned Zak to never go looking where you're not invited. The paranormal field may be full of staged drama and rivalries, but what Zak described sounds less like television conflict and more like a cover-up of something profoundly real and deeply disturbing. When Zak finally went public with his claims, it didn't just expose an old rivalry, it tore open a wound in the paranormal community that had been festering for years. For a long time, investigators across the field referred to each other as brothers in the unknown. They might have disagreed about methods or evidence, but there was still a sense of mutual respect. That illusion shattered the moment Zak uttered the words. He knew what we were dealing with, and he stayed silent. Within hours, forums lit up with accusations. Some defended Grant, calling him a reserved professional who avoided sensationalism. Others sided with Zak, arguing that his openness about dark encounters proved his honesty. Former Ghost Hunters members like Steve Gonsalves and Dave Tango stayed silent, while a few anonymous insiders claimed this wasn't the first time Grant had been accused of hiding something. Zak hinted that there had been an unspoken agreement among early TV ghost hunters, a pact to keep certain findings off camera for fear of public panic and network censorship. "We weren't just exploring haunted houses," Zak said during his live stream. "We were walking into something ancient that watches us back." That statement sent chills through fans who remembered Grant's old comment that some places don't want to be found. What had once been a friendly competition between two shows now resembled a Cold War. Investigators began distancing themselves from both men. Conventions split audiences into factions, Team Baggins and Team Wilson, each defending their idol with religious intensity. The brotherhood that built modern paranormal TV was collapsing in real time, leaving behind suspicion, resentment, and the haunting question Zak raised. If Grant Wilson really did find something unspeakable, what could be so terrifying that he chose silence over truth? After years of being one of the most visible figures in the paranormal world, Grant Wilson's sudden exit from Ghost Hunters in 2012 shocked fans. The official story was simple. He wanted to spend more time with his family and focus on personal projects. But insiders now say there was far more behind his departure than a desire for peace. Following Zak's recent revelation, several crew members have spoken anonymously, describing Grant's final months on set as erratic and fearful. He reportedly requested that certain locations be removed from the filming schedule and refused to enter basements or tunnels during night investigations. One producer claimed Grant often stayed alone in his hotel room after shoots, reading through old case files and mumbling about unfinished business. Around that time, he started distancing himself from co-founder Jason Hawes as well. When Ghost Hunters continued without him, Grant disappeared completely. No interviews, no appearances, not even social media updates. Then, after nearly 7 years of silence, he resurfaced in 2019 with a new version of Ghost Hunters under a different network. Fans expected excitement, but what they saw instead was a changed man, calmer, more cautious, almost haunted. The old spark was gone. Zak recently commented that people don't come back from certain things unchanged. Many interpreted that as another veiled reference to Grant's disappearance, suggesting that something he witnessed, or perhaps something that followed him, had altered him forever. Viewers noticed that in Grant's reboot, there was a stronger emphasis on peace and closure, not confrontation. He stopped provoking spirits and avoided phrases like, "show yourself." It was as if he no longer wanted to see what once consumed him. Whatever Grant faced in those missing years may have been the very darkness Zak is now hinting at. The same darkness that still lingers over both men. Zak Bagans has never been one to back away from controversy, and after years of silence, he finally decided to conduct his own private investigation into Grant Wilson's most infamous cases. According to sources close to Zak, this wasn't about rivalry anymore, it was about finding the truth. He began quietly revisiting the same locations that ghost hunters once explored: the St. Augustine Lighthouse, the Stanley Hotel, and the abandoned asylums that had once made Grant's name legendary. But what Zak found, or rather, what he didn't find, was even more disturbing. Several property owners refused him entry, saying they'd been told never to allow another TV crew inside. Some of the archived investigation notes from Grant's early seasons had mysteriously disappeared from network storage. One building manager even admitted that after the original Ghost Hunters shoot, something changed in the energy of the place, and they banned all further investigations indefinitely. Zak pressed deeper, eventually tracking down a former cameraman who worked closely with Grant during the show's peak years. The man, speaking anonymously, confirmed that Grant once demanded all footage from a particular investigation in the Deep South be destroyed. He wouldn't say why, only that people got hurt in ways that weren't physical. When Zak asked if the incident was supernatural, the man replied it was something worse, something that knew it was being watched. Zak hinted that while reviewing what little footage survived, he noticed flickering shapes in the infrared feed that seemed to form letters that spelled out a name. He refused to reveal that name publicly, but fans now speculate it connects to one of Grant's oldest unsolved investigations from the early 2000s. By the end of his personal probe, Zak said he felt he was being followed by echoes, describing the same sleep paralysis, shadow figures, and sudden power drains that Grant once claimed plagued him off-camera. It was as if retracing Grant's steps reopened something sealed long ago. Zak admitted he eventually stopped the search, not because he lost interest, but because he understood why Grant walked away. Whatever Grant Wilson encountered during his peak years was real enough for Zak Bagans, the man who's faced demons in countless haunted places, to finally say, some truths aren't meant to be revealed. The paranormal community was already in chaos after Zak's chilling revelation, but everything changed overnight when a mysterious audio clip began circulating online. The file, simply titled finalsession.wave, was uploaded to Reddit by an anonymous user claiming to be a former Ghost Hunters editor who had kept something he was told to delete. The clip was 47 seconds long, but what it contained was enough to send shivers through anyone who dared to listen. It began like a standard EVP session. Grant Wilson's calm, familiar voice could be heard asking questions in what sounded like an abandoned church or basement. "Is anyone here who wants to communicate?" he asked softly. A few seconds of silence followed, filled only by the faint hum of equipment. Then, out of nowhere, a low, breathy whisper cut through the static. "Grant!" The voice repeated his name again, slower this time, with a drawn-out hiss that didn't sound human. The temperature of the room, according to the metadata attached to the recording, dropped nearly 10 degrees at that exact moment. Then, barely audible, came a phrase that froze every listener's blood. "We warned you, Grant." After that, the clip ended abruptly with a burst of static and what sounded like something being dragged across the floor. Within hours, the internet exploded. Paranormal fans across forums, Discord servers, and YouTube channels began dissecting every second of the file. Some believed it was an elaborate hoax, timed to exploit Zak Bagans' recent comments, but others pointed out audio markers, frequencies, and distortions consistent with authentic EVP phenomena. The biggest shock came when a digital forensics team claimed the background frequency of the static-matched older Ghost Hunters equipment models from 2011, suggesting it truly originated from Grant's production era. Zak himself addressed the recording during a surprise live stream on his channel. He sat in darkness, speaking quietly to thousands of viewers. "I know that voice," he said, visibly uneasy. "And if that's the same voice from that night, then I know exactly what it means." He didn't elaborate further, but his tone alone was enough to convince fans that the clip wasn't a fake. In the following days, speculation ran rampant. Some claimed the voice belonged to a spirit linked to one of Grant's most notorious cases, possibly the St. Augustine Lighthouse, or the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Others believed it wasn't a ghost at all, but something older, an entity of places that attaches itself to those who dare to expose it. Grant, meanwhile, stayed completely silent. His social media went dark, and even his closest associates refused to comment. Jason Hawes, his former co-star, issued a vague statement saying, "Sometimes we forget that the things we chase might be chasing us back." That cryptic message only fueled more questions. Soon, investigative YouTubers enhanced the clip and slowed it down to 25% speed. What they found sent chills through the entire community. Beneath the main voice, a secondary whisper could be heard, layered in reverse audio. When played backward, it seemed to say, "He found us again." This discovery changed everything. Fans began linking the phrase to Zak's earlier story about a banned episode and a location that didn't want to be found. Even more unsettling, several listeners reported technical malfunctions after playing the audio, frozen phones, flickering lights, and corrupted files. A few even claimed to hear knocking sounds in their rooms while listening with headphones. The phenomenon became known online as the Wilson frequency. Zak canceled his next live investigation days later, citing personal reasons, but followers noticed his behavior had changed. During his next public appearance, his voice trembled slightly as he spoke of the thin line between investigating and inviting. To many, that was a warning. The leaked audio wasn't just another spooky recording, it was the echo of a truth both Zak and Grant had tried to bury. A haunting reminder that some discoveries don't just reveal the darkness, they bring it back. Last night, during a surprise midnight livestream titled "What I Couldn't Say Before," Zak Bagans broke his silence once and for all, and what he revealed about Grant Wilson left millions of fans stunned. He began quietly, seated in his museum's dimly lit basement, the same place where he's stored dozens of cursed artifacts. His voice was low, almost trembling as he admitted, "This isn't about rivalry anymore. This is about something that's been following us both for years." For a few tense minutes, Zak seemed to battle with himself, pausing between sentences, as though unsure how much he should reveal. Then, he finally said it. "Grant didn't fake anything. He hid it to protect us." The chat exploded with disbelief. For years, many believed Zak's earlier statements were accusations of deceit. But now, he clarified that Grant's so-called cover-ups weren't for fame. They were for survival. Zak claimed that while investigating one of Grant's old cases in the Deep South, he came across a sealed storage drive labeled simply, "Do not access." Against every warning, he played the footage. What he saw, he said, wasn't human, but it knew it was being filmed. According to Zak, the entity in the video looked directly at the camera, distorted its feed, and spoke Grant's full name, the same voice heard in the leaked audio. It said, "You opened it again," Zak whispered during the stream. He admitted he shut the video off immediately, but afterward, lights flickered in his museum, and his crew began reporting vivid nightmares, featuring a dark silhouette that breathed like static. Zak described feeling a presence even during the broadcast, noting that temperature sensors in the museum dropped suddenly. At one point, He stopped mid-sentence and stared off camera for a full 20 seconds before returning, visibly shaken. Grant wasn't running from the paranormal, Zak finally confessed. He was trying to keep it from spreading. He explained that after Grant left Ghost Hunters in 2012, he went underground, not just to rest, but to contain something. Zak suggested that the band episode, the missing footage, and the now infamous audio clip all trace back to a single entity the team had encountered during their early seasons. A force so intelligent that it recognized and attached itself to those who exposed it publicly. He didn't want to feed it, Zak said, but every time we talk about it, it comes closer. At that point, the live stream abruptly glitched. The feed froze on Zak's face, eyes wide, before cutting to black. The video was deleted minutes later, and no re-upload has been posted since. Fans who recorded it said they heard faint whispers at the very end, repeating the same phrase from the audio leak. "We warned you." As of this morning, Zak's team has released no official statement. Grant Wilson's pages remain silent, though one eerie post appeared for just a few minutes before vanishing. An image of a locked door with the caption, "Not again." No one knows who uploaded it. Now, the paranormal world is left in limbo, caught between skepticism and fear, wondering if the dark truth Zak revealed was simply another layer of storytelling, or if it was the final confession of two men who uncovered something no human should ever confront. Either way, last night marked the moment when entertainment blurred into horror, and the veil between their world and ours grew impossibly thin.